What's up, team? DJ here. Sorry for being MIA, but spring break was happening. I was kind of on break doing work on the trailer video, a new YouTube layout and everything. And I've also been sick. Let's talk about a topic that everyone speculates that Samuel Stuhlinger is a zombie, and the Flesh. So right from the beginning, when Black Ops 2 came out, we all noticed in transit that Stu was the one that had a unique characterization to him. He would say things like,
If the rest of them discover what I've... No! Don't even think about it, Stuhlinger. They can never know.
We had speculated a lot, but what stood out was that Stu was once, or is maybe, a zombie. Now when Die Rise came out, that theory seemed to be incredibly true. During the cutscene, we see Stu talking to a voice and explains that the group would kill him if they knew about the Flesh. In essence, blackmailing Stu. And then we see the image. Stu is seen here eating a severed arm. You can clearly see this is Stu by the white tape wrapped around his glasses to keep them from splitting. So who is talking to Stu here? A lot of us think it's Richtofen, but only because it's the only voice we ever knew to talk to Stu. But it sounds incredibly different. We'll have to save this portion for another theory. When you play Die Rise as Stu, you hear him moan and groan like a zombie, and quite honestly, it gets annoying. But is Stu slowly turning into a zombie? And why hasn't he turned yet? In my opinion, Stu is being blackmailed and used as a mole in the group of 4. Think about it. Without Stu, there would be only one side of the Easter egg. Maxis speaks to the whole group through electronics scattered throughout each map. Richtofen is in Stu's head, forcing him to weasel his way into the group. Stu must have been exposed to element 115, but exposure alone doesn't turn you into a zombie. You must die first after exposure from the element 115, then it reanimates the dead cells, bringing you back to life. So this kind of makes sense because after the group dies, Richtofen or whoever brings them back to life in Die Rise or Transit, and the group gets the sense of, oh, I've been here before. They get that sense of deja vu. If Stu dies, and Richtofen's mole turns into a zombie, aka Stu, and then the 3 are all just dead, nothing gets done in either side of the Easter egg. So who is this Flesh? Well, I dug deep into the matter and actually came up with something interesting. One thing we can think of is Great Leap Forward from the Republic of China. If you didn't know yet, here's your history lesson for the day. Great Leap Forward was an economic and social campaign in 1958 to 1961 in which they used China's huge population to rapidly transform the country into a modern communist society through a process of rapid industrialization. In a nutshell, they forced every Chinese citizen into hard labor to modernize China. It didn't play out so well. It ended up in tens of millions of deaths. It was such a bad idea that they put all the money to forced labor into China. It had nothing, no results came through it. It was actually one of the biggest motivated mass killings and expensive disasters in history. A lot of bad things happened during this time period, but I want to touch on one thing that might have to do something with the Flesh. During Great Leap Forward campaign, no one had grown crops because they were too busy producing steel and other resources. Not only that, a huge locust swarm had killed the very little that they had, greatly reducing the amount of food the people had. Not only that, but the next year, Yellow River flooded East China, killing 2 million people and drowning all their crops. The country was in extreme famine at this point. So what happens when you have a ton of people and no food? You start eating each other. Cannibalism occurred in parts of China and was one of the most scariest outcomes imaginable. I had read an article named Horror of a Hidden Chinese Famine by Jasper Becker. It was published on February 5th, 1997. It had a statement from a survivor of the famine, and it stated that, quote, there was widespread resort among the Chinese people to the most sickening form of desperation. Cannibalism, the selling of human flesh on the market, the swapping of children so people use them for food without committing the additional sin of eating their own. Could the Flesh be some sort of cult that formed during Great Leap? Was Stu in the cult? A lot of information is locked up by the Chinese authorities. They guard the archives so no one gets a hold of any history during that time frame. But one person named Zhao Zun has actually spent the past 4 years in China gathering information for her book called China's Great Famine. Maybe we could get some clues and insight from reading her book. It contains over 100 articles from the time period of what really happened during the Great Leap. I have more about the flesh in some future videos. See if you guys can get your hands on that book in the library. I'm not too sure if it's on Amazon or such. There might be some interesting things in there. Until next time, this is DJ, signing out.
Follow the research on Twitter at Bashar Zanal. Subscribe now.